Alrighty, everyone, let's talk about conservative snobbery. If you haven't, also check out my video on let's talk about liberal snobbery, because snobbery exists all over the political spectrum. It's ugly, and when you hear it or see it, it kind of just gives you the ick. But yeah, conservative snobbery. Where has this become the most common? Well, look at Senator J.D. Vance, Vice President-elect J.D. Vance, unfortunately, and the comments he's made about people who do not have children. Usually he says people who choose not to have children, rather than people who involuntarily are unable to. But still, demeaning people because of their lifestyle choices is not cool. It's pretty freaking repulsive. Let people live their lives. Let people choose to have children or not have children. The choice is up to them. Now, I understand that having children is a big deal. I understand that it's good for the economy, that it feels amazing to create a whole new life. A whole new life that is essentially a mix between yourself and your partner, your husband or wife. You're continuing your bloodline, so to speak. But let's not get into demonizing people who choose not to have kids. Let's treat them like any normal human being, because these are life choices that we all get to make. So let's read some of J.D. Vance's comments on people who choose not to have kids. To be a little stark about this, I think we have to go to war against the anti-child ideology that exists in our country. He said that people who support women prioritizing their careers over having children are, quote, sad, lonely, pathetic people. Now look, do I understand that generally there are some careers that men may be better at than women and vice versa? Yes. Does that mean that people who simply support women making this decision for themselves, choosing to go into business, finance, law, engineering, whatever, that they're sad, lonely, or pathetic? No. And women who choose to do those things are well within their rights. This is a type of thing that, like, when feminists say that, talk about like the patriarchy, I get it's kind of an overused word, but it's like these types of things, these types of comments being pervasive, and the fact that you can get elected vice president while standing by those statements and doubling down on them, it is evidence to some extent of a patriarchy. People don't make those types of comments about men and then run for office and win. So let's read a little more. Emphasis they also have on biological children. They think that if you're a step parent, you're a joke. A lot of these people on the right, they say, well, you're raising another person's kids. That's embarrassing. It's like, look, are we just going to ignore the fact that you're helping another human being? Does it have to be your biological offspring? Is it really so absurd and so demeaning to raise someone else's kid? So I get it. Believe me, I do. The idea of having biological kids might seem a lot more compelling than raising someone else's kids. But if people meet someone that they love who happens to have kids and they get married to them and they raise their kids, let them do that. Let people be people. Let people make their adult decisions. And I know that there's not really anyone passing laws against that, but let's not look down our noses at them. Let's not act like we're better than them. These are human beings. But yeah, obviously Vance had his comments about childless cat ladies. He referred to Pete Buttigieg as a childless cat lady. He listed him as an example. And it's like, I wonder what he means by that. I wonder if it has something to do with the fact that the guy's gay, and that J.D. Vance doesn't like that. Gee. Because Pete Buttigieg is a man. Wouldn't that make him a childless cat man? But he also has kids. So, they've got a whole lot of stuff going on that side of the aisle. Vance said that Vice President Kamala Harris is among the Democratic Party's childless cat ladies too. Quote, She has no physical commitment to the future of this country because she does not have biological children. See, he's throwing the biological thing in there. Vance has also supported the idea of giving people with more kids more votes under the theory that they've got more at stake. For what it's worth, evaluate that for what it's worth. I mean, that's a specific policy. I think it's just snobbish, again, to treat people who do not have kids as not having any stake in the future of this country. There is so much more than the offspring that you have that determines whether or not you have a stake in the future of this country. There just is. And you know what? It doesn't matter if they're biological or not. If you're raising someone else's kids, kids that aren't biologically your own, yes, you have a stake in their future too. So again, this is just snobbery, just putting other people down. And I think it makes total sense that this guy got criticized a lot for this over the summer, for these childless cat lady remarks. And he doubled down and tripled down on them, and then he won. So yeah, the Republican Party, as it stands, has a major snobbery problem. Hopefully they will have to answer to it someday, but it looks like November 5th, 2024 was not the day. Vance also said that Americans without children should not have, quote, nearly the same voice as parents when voting. So that's the policy thing I said. It's just a basic fact. How does it make any sense that we've turned our country over to people that don't have a direct stake in it? Just another way to try and restrict people's voting power, to suppress votes from people who he believes generally lean Democratic. But you know what? People can have all sorts of reasons for not having kids, as I said. I talked in my last video about how education, people not being educated, not going into higher education, don't make fun of them. It's just it might not even be a choice on their part. They might be unable to afford it. The same applies to people who do not have biological children. Stuff goes wrong in their marriage. They end up getting divorced before they can have kids. They have a hard time dating, whatever. They have a miscarriage or another miscarriage, multiple miscarriages. Things happen. And yeah, it's just incredibly sad to see someone who's a public official wagging his finger at his fellow Americans for not having children when you don't even know the full circumstances of what's going on in their lives. You don't know what they're doing. Maybe they can't afford a kid. They're working too many hours. Things happen. Maybe their significant other dies before they can get married and have kids. So yeah, this is right-wing snobbery on that front. This whole stake in the country thing is just, I've heard people talk about it in other contexts too, the stake in the country argument. I've even heard some folks say that we should restrict voting based on you need to be an owner of real property in order to vote, because without owning real property, you don't have a stake in the future of this country. I strongly disagree with that messaging. Again, yeah, it's just like the children thing. And if we really wanted to evaluate stake in the country thing, we could open up some really, really dangerous doors too. So think about that the next time any right-winger or any left-winger makes this type of argument. Should we ban people who have terminal illnesses from voting because they don't have a stake in this country? Should we ban people who are above the average life expectancy in the United States from voting because there's a lower likelihood that they live until the next election? I suggest to you, no, I tell you, the answer to those two questions is no. Let Americans be Americans. Let Americans vote. It's not like the votes of people who are of certain demographics that you consider to not have a direct stake in the future of this country are going to sway the election either way. Sorry, it's just not true. So yeah, that's conservative snobbery. It's a real issue. It's something that I see a lot more frequently online. For example, one of the YouTubers that I watch, Kyle Kulinski, he was attacked multiple times for raising crystal balls children, which are not his own biological children. They're the children of another man. If you look at his comments on X, there's people going after him for that. Like, guys, just stay out of people's personal lives. The Democrats could probably hit Republicans even harder on that than they already have. I know there was that ad, or a few ads, with this guy who's the Republican congressman, and he shows up in like people's personal space, people's bedrooms, telling them like, oh, you can't do that, you can't do that, I'm your Republican congressman, I won the last election. And yeah, obviously conservative voters are not themselves doing this, but be careful, they might just elect people who really want to get in your personal business, want to spring up and jump scare you in the bedroom and say, you can't do that. But yeah, as of now, at least there's nobody physically following you and lecturing you about how you need to have biological children. But yeah, here's my message to you. Have biological children if you want to. If you don't want to, that's okay. That's entirely valid. I'm not saying, oh, climate change is such a big issue that you shouldn't have kids. That's another thing. J.D. Vance just lied about Kamala Harris, saying that because of climate change, people shouldn't have kids. The guy's just a proven liar, a proven con man, and really coasts on divisiveness. But yeah, let's stop the divisiveness on both the left and on the right. No more judging people for personal decisions that they make in their life, personal decisions which don't affect you or affect or harm anyone else in any remote way. Decisions in the bedroom, decisions about what type of education to get, those are decisions for the individual who makes them. Not you or I, not our politicians to look down their noses at them. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Please leave a like, comment, or subscribe to this channel if you found this interesting, helpful, or insightful. As always, I look forward to speaking to you in the next video.